So I got this book because it was recommended, highly recommended by Tom Bilyeu. If you do not know who Tom Bilyeu is, he's the host of Impact Theory and also, a guy who created $1 billion business. Anyway, he has a lot of great podcast content. And yes, in this particular instance, he was talking to Matthew Hussey, and they were talking about relationships, women, and how guys are struggling, especially since the pandemic, loneliness, epidemic, so on and so forth. And the question about, men not knowing what to do or how to approach women, all that stuff. And then he kind of mentions, Tom Bilyeu mentions, hey, Matt, he was asking Matthew something, and he kind of asked him if he read this book and the studies and all that done by these guys, Ogas and Gaddam. It's an incredible read. If you're queasy about sex and being, open about it, probably not for you, but you're open, learning what actually people are interested in, how men and women drastically differ, then this is a book that you should read because it's based on stats, not on theory, not on some psychological study. No, actual putting where your money where your mouth is, actual behavior, online behavior, that's where it's pretty clear cut on what men and women prefer, gay, bi, all that stuff, right? Preferences. So amazing read. You get to, it's kind of funny too, by the way, in a way, how men and women are described. Two things to remember. Men, Elmer Fudd, hunting the rabbit, shoot, right? They're just shooting, they're not thinking too much. While women are Miss Maple, the detective agency. So they need a lot of data. And then another term or another factor used in women is magic hoo-hoo. That's a funny one, by the way. I don't want to talk too detailed about this. There's so much in there. I rather prefer people go read this book on what actually women seek versus men seek, and why, people get confused. So one of the things I've realized lately is we try to fit it into our own viewpoint when we, especially in relationship, doesn't matter, man, women, business relationship, whatever, right? One of the things, critical mistake I personally saw myself doing is trying to fit it into my mold instead of actually dealing with the reality of the situation, reality, psychology of the person. So, for example, men, complaining that why can't women be simple or be like us, whatever, right? And the women saying, why are men so whatever, right? Why can't they be like this? If you go understand the reality and actual facts and essentially go with the reality, not try to fit it into your own thinking process on how it should be instead of how it is, that's when you get stuck, or at least I get stuck. And when I go with the factor that this is how it is and that's how they're expecting it, I'm not doing it for myself, but I'm doing it for them, then the shifting can change. So in that sense, when you read this book, you do understand, if you haven't, if you're not that relationship experts or opposite sex expert, or even if you're gay, but whatever, right? You don't understand certain aspects of the other person's interest. This will give you a good viewpoint into what actually people prefer, right? Men or women prefer. Traditional, or let's say traditional men, women prefer would be the best, most of the coverage in this book, and how our tastes form. Like I used to think, hey, why are people so into some weird stuff, right? Like as if, my stuff is not weird, right? Like or somebody else's stuff is not weird. We're all unique. We have our own taste, but they also go into that, covering how in certain age range, when our particular attractions form, it's a brain software, right? It's a brain software that, kind of formulates what it is. And it's a hormone levels and all that stuff that formulates. That's what they theorize, or the theory, or the sciences on the gay, bi, all that stuff, right? Anyway, great book if you're interested in understanding the sexual preferences of the opposite sex, own sex, whatever, and really truly understanding other person's attraction. That way you're more aware if you're in a relationship or not in a relationship, doesn't matter, right? You can get more understanding and empathy towards the other person's viewpoint on what they're seeking. And maybe, hopefully, you will give it to them. That way your relationship is stronger, or you gain that new partner, whatever the case is, right? Anyway, I highly, highly, highly recommend this book. Worst case, at least listen to this.